Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Boston Balling. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut. It's the middle of the week, so congratulations on making it to there. I know me personally, I've been a little thrown off this week because I thought yesterday was Wednesday all day, so then I thought today was Thursday. And so when I realized halfway through today that it was only Wednesday, that made me a little bit disappointed. So I hope everyone's having a better week than me. Baseball, obviously, the lockout is over. There's been a lot of things happening lately. We can finally talk about some stuff that's super exciting. The season's starting soon, also super exciting. So we're going to dive into a bunch of baseball talk, a bunch of Red Sox talk. Obviously, before we get started, I just want to introduce my guests that I have with me on this episode. They do an awesome podcast together. I'm going to let them talk about it a little bit now shortly, but I'd like to introduce all three of you. Just kind of tell us like who you are, what your name is, and then we will talk a little bit about your show.
I'll just get started here, I guess. My name is Jack Webster. I'm one of the hosts of the show here, along with these other two distinguished gentlemen that will introduce themselves.
I'm Matt Lebeau, and we're not another Sox podcast. We're extremely excited to be here. We have a good dynamic. We got Jack. He's an excellent personality. Matt, awesome personality, also produces our show. So we have a lot to offer, and we crack a lot of jokes, have a lot of fun, keep it light, but also have some really good Red Sox takes that we can hopefully share with you moving forward.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm the other Matt with
the other
one
one.
T. Yeah, with one T though.
One T.
Couldn't afford the other one at birth. I'm getting through. I have I guess somewhat of like a disorder or something like that with only one T. But I'm yeah, right. It's different. So I'm 1/3 of this group as well. So it's been nice to do this. Like we were saying before the show, I think we've been doing it for about 6 months or so. So we've had a decent amount of success so far. So we're looking forward to growing, and we've had a pretty good dynamic so far. So it's been fun to do it with these guys.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it seems like you guys definitely have a good dynamic going, even from just, we were just talking like before we started recording. They said it, not another Sox podcast. It's a great show. I mean, they have good content. But how did you guys kind of get started? How did this little trio kind of form with this show?
Yeah, well, we all started working together at the same point, and me and Matt Galvao still work together as well. So we, pretty much instantly all found out that we followed the Red Sox pretty extensively and listened to, like Section 10 podcast and a few other shows that were out there that were the same. So basically, it kind of just got started from us talking, and then Lebeau actually had the initial idea for it.
That's awesome. I like that a lot. Yeah, no, who wouldn't want to talk about the Red Sox? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so fun.
No, it was an easy fit. I mean, when I had the idea, I texted Jack, and the first person he thought of was Matt, because Matt not only is a big Boston fan in general, he's a big Bruins fan. He had a podcast that was more centric to hockey as well. So he had experience doing that, and me and Jack really kind of didn't. So he was like really the third puzzle piece, and it all came together really fast. Probably materialized within about a week, and then we recorded our first show after the wild card game. And as you know, I mean, there's so much content there, beating the Yankees and just, having so many jokes to talk about the Yankees, which is most of our content at the end of the day. It's mostly making fun of Yankee fans and the Yankees. And, that's what makes it so much fun, because they're the easiest organization to poke fun at.
Yes, 100%. You said it. You really definitely said it. I mean, my dad's a Yankees fan, so within my own house, I had a rivalry going up there. So that was always a good time. Mainly for me, more as of late. But yeah, no, the Yankees are so easy to make fun of. So I'm definitely with you guys on that for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So there was actually I guess kind of a funny story about our first episode. So we were pretty excited. It was right after the wild card. We recorded it. Came out great. So me, being the excellent producer that I am, go back, edit the show. Video's awesome. We recorded on Zoom. It was great. And there was no audio. The audio didn't
There's
get
no
recorded.
audio for you. There's audio for the rest of us.
Right. So that's right. That is true. So my audio was off for whatever reason. But theirs was great. Everything was great except that. So I hit him up in the group chat. I'm like, oh man, I think we got a little bit of a problem here. Your audio is fine, but mine isn't. Video was there and everything. So these two guys were kind enough to hop back on and re-record the entire thing again. And
Wow.
yeah. So that was we haven't had any trouble like that since, which is good. But yeah, it's been
it was
a little
practice
bit
run.
of a
It was a practice run.
exactly.
We needed it.
It was those first episode kinks you had to work out
That's
and like
right.
just kind of getting past everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Now you're making me scared though. Like what if there's no audio with this episode after we finish? I find that there's no audio.
It's gonna be a late night.
It's gonna be a late
Yeah.
night. Yeah.
It's gonna be a late night.
Nobody would hear any of us. I'd be like, all right, we have to get back on and redo it. The whole thing. Sorry. I know you guys probably have other stuff to do, but this is important.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
No, exactly. You got to get up the content.
Yeah.
Yes, that is funny though. That's funny. But
Yeah.
at least you didn't make that mistake again. So
Right.
I remember one time like that happened with my episode once. Like there was like, I mean, it was towards the beginning too, but I just remember like there was just a part that just cut out altogether with the audio, and I was like, this is terrible. I was like, what do I do? Like I was like, I can't really redo it now, but like for like a whole chunk, you couldn't hear anything.
Yeah, it's like the worst thing.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine like having a guest on and then losing that, and then either you have to say, "Hey, can you come back on?" or you have to just be like, "No, it's just over at this point. It's too late." I mean, that would suck for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I ended up just cutting that part out. I just took like that entire chunk and just like cut it out, and then just like try to make it like the cutoff points where it wouldn't feel too obvious or awkward. You know what I mean? And then I just like, left out that whole part, even though it was good conversation.
Yeah. That's always like the worst thing though. Like I feel like me like going back and editing the show like every episode, it's like my heart just sank when that happened. I was like, oh my God. Because then you feel like it's your fault, which in that case it probably was. But
it was.
Yeah,
it was.
Exactly. It was.
We blame you directly.
And then you just feel like such an idiot, and then you got to text them all. Thank God, like Lebeau, like you said, like we didn't have a guest that episode, so it was good that
we all hopped back on. It was fun.
It was just us, but we battled through it. So,
but I thought you weren't the technologically challenged one in the group, though.
That's me, and Galvao surprises. I was thinking, like, Jesus, I mean, it's episode 1. We're already doing this. I mean, no, it worked out. It was great, but I am the technologically stunted one of the group for sure. They will attest.
There's always one person.
There's always one.
If you're able to make it on, that's all that we ask for.
That's all. That's all you're gonna get.
If you know how to get onto the show, then that's really all that anybody can hope for.
Yeah. I did make a website today, though. I am very proud of that. So.
You did.
Yeah.
That is great. That's so funny. But yeah, no, I'm really happy to have you guys on. This is going to be really fun. There's actually a lot to talk about now, finally, after we've waited for so long when there was no baseball news at all going on. And then they finally came to an agreement, and baseball Twitter erupted because everybody was super happy about it. And then we were like, now we finally do get baseball. I was starting to worry that they were going to have to cancel more games. So I'm really, really happy that they didn't have to do that.
Yeah. And we were worried that we were going to run out of content at some point. Like we didn't know what was going to happen. That whole lot, like we were talking before, we started at a good time with the Yankees wild card win, and then the Rays, and then from there, and then once the season ended and the lockout took effect, we had some cool episodes that we were doing after that, and then after a while it was just like, oh man, we were scrambling. We were thinking like, man, what are we going to do if this continues? And thankfully, it didn't continue for too long, and we have baseball back. So it's definitely it'll be good from now on to have actual games and actual content to talk about. So it'll be good. I'm glad it's back.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all are for sure. And I mean, obviously last year, I've said this multiple times on the show, like last season was super fun for the Red Sox. They definitely exceeded a lot of expectations. Last season, I don't think a lot of people thought they were going to make it all the way to the ALCS. So that was definitely, I think, a nice surprise for all of us. I did think that they were going to be a wild card playoff team, but I definitely did not think that they were going to go as far as they did. So that definitely, I think, gave us a lot of hope going into this upcoming season. I mean, at least me anyway. And then, free agency starts, and obviously they made some interesting moves. Like we saw the whole trade happen between with Hunter Renfroe leaving, JBJ coming back, like picking up a couple solid minor league players, which I will say those prospects are pretty good. And I think people were a little bit confused by that because Hunter Renfroe's bat obviously is going to be missed. I mean, overall, like, good defense. I mean, I'm going to miss the guy for sure. And bringing back Jackie Bradley was definitely an interesting move. For me personally, I mean, obviously, like, the guy is familiar with Boston. He has a great personality, like, definitely a good, like, locker room type of guy to have here. Obviously, phenomenal defense, but the bat definitely is something that is lacking with him. So what did you guys kind of think about that trade?
Yeah, that one, I think was at the 11th hour before, the lockout ended. So many transactions were going on. And then you hear, Renfroe traded, and then you hear JBJ. And I think really the initial thought is like, JBJ is definitely, prime defender, but the bat is not always there compared to Hunter Renfroe, who had, very much a breakout year. And then, you do start hearing about the prospects that came back, and, it starts to make a little bit more sense, especially, with some moves that would have come after the lockout ended. But we'll see, how it all fits together for this season. I think Cora is a good guy to, manage all that. And, I think Bloom knows what he's doing and, building the roster together.
Yeah. And in terms of the Hunter Renfroe trade, for me, I'm one of the biggest Chaim Bloom fanboys there is. But it was kind of hard to defend because the whole year we said, well, Chaim Bloom, knows what he's doing. Like, look at the Hunter Renfroe trade. He picked this guy out of nowhere. Hunter Renfroe hit 34 home runs, 90 whatever RBIs. And then he ships him off for a guy that has like a 500 OPS. So it was hard to defend. But, I mean, looking at the picture as a whole, I think they did get a lot more athletic. They needed better base running, and they needed better defense. Those were, I think, the things that really bogged them down you saw September and even October. I'm not a huge fan of the move in general, but I think that as a whole, it could work out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely, for sure. I was curious what your thoughts were.
Yeah. Like we mentioned that, obviously, losing, like you mentioned, losing that offense from Renfroe was tough. And one thing we talked about, after that trade happened was, okay, well, what's going to happen? Because now you lost that bat. You brought in JBJ, obviously doesn't really provide you any offense. And then you lose Schwarber. So what was going to happen? Were you going to bring, they needed that bat. And then obviously, we'll get into bringing in Story. So obviously that was, huge. But, the biggest thing was we were kind of wondering, all right, well, what's he going to do? He's going to have to do something, to bring in another bat to this lineup. He eventually did. So I think it kind of made up a little bit for the trade. But obviously, you mentioned as well, the offense and then even the defensive play from Renfroe will be missed. But, I think we're still in a good position going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was very confused because I was like, wow, so this is what we're going into the lockout with right now. And I was like, looking at this team right now, this is just kind of a mess. Like, I'm so confused a little bit about what's really happening here. And I think for a while, I mean, me and I think a lot of other Red Sox fans as well were kind of holding out hope that they would bring back Schwarber and be able to kind of re-sign him, just kind of to have his bat in the lineup. But then as more time passed and the Red Sox weren't able to re-sign him, I kind of started to feel like he wasn't going to end up back in a Red Sox uniform. And obviously that's a bummer to me too, because when he was here, obviously he was such a huge factor in that playoff run.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he was probably like our favorite rental that we've ever had, like on the team just for, 3-4 months, however long it was. But once I heard the, National League was adopting the DH, there was just such more of a market for him. So it wasn't, likely that we were going to match like another team's offer.
Yeah. And looking at the lineup on paper before they signed Story, you had, JBJ as a full-time player, Christian Arroyo as a full-time player, Christian Vasquez, and Bobby Dahlbeck. They all have rightful places on the team. But that many holes offensively, you look at it, and it makes you want to have a panic attack. I was like sweating, and really you can't go into the season with those holes and expect to compete with Toronto, the Yankees, and the Rays. You just can't. So that's why, and again, we'll get into Story obviously a little bit later, but that's why that was so crucial, because they just had so much at the bottom of the lineup to mend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you were saying, Lebeau too. Toronto's got better. Obviously, the Yankees have some big bats. The Rays are the Rays. So it was important that Heim, made a move, so that the Red Sox could, keep up with these other teams in the division that are getting better and have good teams. And, I think we're right there with them going into the season. So,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy Freddie Freeman didn't end up in the division. I was getting a little bit worried about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can enjoy Los Angeles.
Yep.
It just made sense. At the end of the day, I was like, I feel like it was kind of inevitable when like the Braves didn't reach a deal with him, that's where he was going to end up. It just kind of made sense for him, to end up in LA. So that just did not come as a surprise to me at all that he ended up there.
Yeah, I don't think the Red Sox ever had interest. I don't think the Yankees really ever had like that much interest. I think that was kind of used to drive the price up a little bit for him. Yeah, exactly. And then they said at the last minute, like Tampa had interest in him. Like, give me a break. No shot.
Yeah.
Right. So that was, I feel like it was like almost like the media made a bidding war for every free agent, but that just really wasn't the case. Like, you even heard it in the press conference today where Alex Cora said, yeah, we've been talking to Trevor since November. Like, the media makes it seem like it came together at the 11th hour and there was a bunch of these teams, all together, like he was on the auction block. It's just not how it works. So it's just, Freddie Freeman, stay 3,000 miles away from me. I'm happy about that.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have to deal with him here. Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a big one that I was like, okay, now we can all kind of breathe a sigh of relief. Like, he's in the National League. Like, we don't have to see him that many times a season, like, if at all. So, like, that's going to be, we'll worry about that. Like, if we have to face the Dodgers in the playoffs, and that's a different situation. But yeah, like that was such a relief to me too. I was like, okay, good. Like, the only time we possibly could like really see him this season is in the World Series.
Right.
So yeah, definitely was happy about that one. But yeah, I mean, obviously you guys already touched on it a little bit, but clearly the biggest Red Sox free agency news that, was super recent, just happened in the last few days, was the Trevor Story signing. And, honestly, at first, like, I was like, no, like, this can't be true. Like, there's no way. Like, but I think it's huge. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot to be said for somebody. And I put this on Twitter, too. There's a lot to be said for somebody who, like, came here and was willing to switch positions and also supposedly had options to take more money elsewhere, but wanted to come to Boston because he felt like it was a better place for him to win. And so I think that kind of says a lot about, his desire to play here. And obviously we knew Xander wasn't going to move because he basically just said I'm a shortstop. So like we knew he wasn't going to switch to second base. So the fact that Story is willing to do that just shows that he really does want to play here. And I think it's super cool because, obviously it's that 6-year deal and we don't know what's going to happen with Bogarts after this year either. So that's just absolutely huge. And like you guys said before, his bat, like we needed that bat too, obviously with losing Renfroe and losing Schwarber. So bringing in somebody like that, I mean, not only his bat, but also obviously his defense. The infield is going to be one of, if not arguably the best infield in baseball this year.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Go ahead, Jack. Yeah.
Obviously Xander had a big part of recruiting Trevor Story to the Red Sox along with a few other guys on the team. So they all wanted to, have him come over, and he was very happy to. During the press conference this morning, he checked off all the boxes of things he wanted to say. He looked good in the uniform. So really not too much you can ask for at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think when he sees, obviously Boston is a destination for any free agent, especially now, you got a great manager in Alex Cora. You got a really good team. The city's great. And I think it was a great signing for the Red Sox as well because, he does have versatility. Obviously, he's going to move to second, so he's going to play there. But God forbid if anything happens to Bogarts or, you need him to make the move over to short, he can do that as well. He's got the bat, he's got versatility. He's still in his prime. And the money wasn't bad too, $23 million or so. That's not bad. So I think overall, very solid signing for Chaim Bloom. And it's a guy that the Red Sox needed.
Yeah. Chaim did very well. It's very similar to the JD signing, although Chaim Bloom had nothing to do with that. But they're both honestly very eerily similar, actually, like very late in the offseason, waited out your guy, negotiated to the end, got a team-friendly deal. And people forget JD really wanted to play outfield when he signed with the Red Sox. But the idea was more obviously for a DH. Same thing with Trevor Story. Obviously, his first option would be to play shortstop. That's where you're going to maximize your money, probably just play your natural position. But he has to play second. Doesn't mean he can't play shortstop in the future, but he has to kind of bend and play second in favor of winning. That's we have to choose. Where do you want to play or do you want to win? So I'm glad he's a part of it. And also, they get so much more athletic. He can steal bases. He's a great base runner as well, not just speed wise, but heady as well. And I think that's important because again, that was the same thing when I mentioned with Jackie Bradley. That was an issue for them last year.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too about this Trevor Story thing is it's really, really good for the momentum of the rest of the players going into the season, because I know obviously people were wondering, is Chaim Bloom going to make a big move? Is something going to happen? Is he going to do anything else to kind of improve the roster? And I think somebody like that kind of signing is exactly what the rest of the team needed to be okay, yeah, he brought in somebody who really can help us win. And now I think that's going to help fuel the fire going into the season. I mean, we can see, look how well they're playing in spring training right now. I think that they're amped up and they're ready to go.
Yeah, it definitely shows that they're willing to spend and they're not penny pinchers like the Rays. Like everyone says, it's a popular take on sports radio. All the Red Sox are being managed like the Rays. It's not true. They just signed Trevor Story. The Rays would never do something like that. So it does show it goes a long way in proving to Red Sox fans that they know they have a winning window and they're trying to maximize it.
Yeah, Chaim Bloom's very much to me the type of guy who is very, very strategic and will take his time, kind of work quietly on things and just kind of not really make a lot of things public that he's interested in really doing, because we weren't really sure exactly how interested they were in Trevor Story, really.
Yeah, no idea.
And so I feel like he's a very kind of private guy when it comes to the moves that he does make. And I think obviously there was a lot going on behind the scenes that we didn't know about. I think he was really, really working hard to try and bring one of those types of players here. And he's not the type of guy who's going to overpay for somebody who he doesn't feel would fit in here. And I think he saw something in Trevor Story that he'd be a good fit in Boston. And I really do think that he will be.
Yeah, now you start to see, some of those names come off the board, like Freddie Freeman and Kenley Jansen and,
Right.
A lot of other guys that were out there. By the way, none of them went to the Yankees either. So,
which is hilarious.
Carlos
Correa. That they were going to get Correa and Freddie Freeman.
No, and Matt Olson and everything. Yeah. But I think what, doing a big signing like Trevor Story also does is it lets us keep our core prospects of Cassis and Nick York and Myers and Jarren Duran in there. So that way, you do have either, pieces that could be a part of your team in 2022 and way beyond, or, you might be able to pick up somebody at the deadline or later on. So I think he did that, really made a big difference in terms of future planning as well.
Yeah. That's such a good point too, because those prospects, that's super important to keep that core, because that really is the future of the team. And I think Bloom's done a very good job since he's been here of, first of all, kind of starting to rebuild the farm system that was pretty much non-existent after they won the World Series, just being able to kind of maintain as much of that as he can. Even during the season, at the trade deadline last year, he didn't really have to give up his top-notch prospects to get the guys that he got to help them with that playoff run last year. So I think he's done a very good job of being able to keep those guys together, like you said, but also still be able to bring in good quality players that can help them win now. And that's going to be a problem. That lineup obviously was already good enough as it was. I mean, the Red Sox offense we knew was kind of their strength, but adding Trevor Story to that lineup, I feel genuinely bad for opposing pitchers that have to face that lineup. Really though, other AL East pitchers who are going to have to deal with that lineup on a regular basis, I do not envy them at all.
Yeah, Garrett Cole on opening day.
Yeah.
Garrett Cole who got smashed in the wild card game.
Yeah.
He does not pitch well at Fenway. He really doesn't.
No. And I mean, you have now 4 guys. Maybe you could make the argument for 5 that can hit 30 home runs plus. And that's, I mean, you can't put a price tag on that, and it's so important, especially when you play in a park like Fenway Park, to have right-handed hitters that can, hit 30 bombs. That's awesome. I'm really, it makes you really excited for the season for sure.
Oh, I'm pumped. I'm super pumped. I'm really excited. Yeah, that just got me, that move over the weekend just got me so much more excited for the season. I was like, yeah, Trevor Story is going to look fantastic in a Red Sox uniform.
Yep. No, it gets the wheels spinning. It gets the blood flowing. Yep.
Yeah, when you see the pictures online today on Twitter with him in a Sox jersey, it just gets you going.
Yep.
It really does. It really, really does. Yeah, I like to just constantly bring up Trevor Story on Twitter too, because I have a lot of Yankees fans that follow me. So I just want to just make sure that they don't forget that Trevor Story is now a Boston Red Sox.
Right.
Yeah.
You gotta let them know.
Yeah. No, it's you have to let them know. You have to. It's going to be super fun. It's going to be really exciting. I do want to talk about the pitching a little bit though, because he did make a few pitching moves. I don't think obviously they were what people expected. I think for some people they would say the pitching moves were a little underwhelming. However, I mean, they did need to fix the pitching. That was obviously a big weakness going into the season. And James Paxton. I mean, I think that signing is slightly underrated only because people know he's not going to be healthy at the beginning of the season. But when he comes back and he's fully healthy, if he stays healthy, that can be a serious weapon to that rotation, because when he's really fully healthy and he brings his best stuff, he's really, really tough.
Exactly. And I think one of the big things is now, obviously, with the Sale news, he's a little bit obviously injury prone, and I think that obviously, it gives you some insurance there. Obviously, if he does go down at some point in the season, especially, he'll probably come back later on in the year. Paxton will, some point, maybe midway. And, he does provide that insurance as well. And obviously he's pitched very well in this league, so he can definitely do it again here. And I think that was obviously, it was a great signing for sure.
Yeah. I think for the first time in a while, we actually have a little depth at the starting position role. So, I mean, obviously, you're leading it off with Nate Eovaldi, who was, one of the American League's top pitchers last year, especially once you dive into, some of the more advanced stats. Nick Pivetta showed a lot of upside, especially second half of the year in the playoffs. And then, you have Rich Hill, and, you're probably not going to expect him to go 200 innings, but the innings that you are going to get out of him are going to be, very productive. And then, you have other guys like Houck, Waka, and even Garrett Whitlock now to, get you a lot of innings there as well.
Yeah, those are all very valid points. I was actually going to bring up Garrett Whitlock because I was going to ask, do you guys think that he's going to be able to, become a starter, obviously as early as this season? Because he was fantastic out of the bullpen. I loved his stuff. You knew you could pretty much rely on him the majority of the time coming out of the pen. But how do you guys feel about him transitioning from, being a reliever to joining the starting rotation?
I feel good about it. I mean, whenever you have someone that has that kind of stuff, regardless of where, they're starting their career, I think you have to give them a shot. It seems like, stamina-wise, it doesn't seem like an issue for him. And if Houck can have success as a starter, where he's kind of the same thing, he only has I would say maybe 2.5 pitches that you really, really feel good about. I think Whitlock can do the same thing and develop a third pitch, which he's been working on, as well as Tanner Houck. So like Jack said, you have options and you have depth, which is the best part about this rotation. You don't quite have maybe that 1-2-3 punch of Eovaldi, Sale, and Eduardo Rodriguez that you had in years past, but you do have some depth and you have some different options that you can plug and play.
And we mentioned that too on the show all the time is, what better manager, pitching wise and even in the lineup, what better manager than Alex Cora? I feel like he's such a perfect guy to be able to mix and match and, tweak the lineup, tweak the starting rotation, do different things. I think he's a master at that. And I saw with this team that the Red Sox have right now, I think he's the perfect manager to be able to do that.
I 100% agree with that. I mean, and Alex Cora's managing is obviously one of the biggest reasons why I think they were able to see so much success last year. He just really, really knows how to work with this team, knows how to work with the players. As everyone always says, he's a player's coach, and he really, really is. There's a lot to be said for that, too. And I think the players trust him. He trusts them, and they have like that really good relationship. And I think, like you said, Alex Cora is the perfect guy to be able to come in and manage this group of players. And I think that makes Boston an even more desirable place for, free agents and players like that to want to go, because they saw that chemistry that was created last year with this Red Sox team that I think also obviously helped with their run last year and their success, was just that chemistry that they had. And I think Alex Cora is a huge part of kind of creating that chemistry that you don't really see with a lot of other teams.
Yeah. And I think that's also kind of what made 2020 so bleak is, Ron Renneke, I'm sure, did a fine job for, the team that he was given, but you were missing, that true leader. You didn't know if it was going to be Renneke even for a long time during the pandemic. So just to have Alex Cora back, and I think everybody kind of going beyond the Astros cheating scandal is, great for the team. And I think he's embraced it too. He's even growing out the beard a little bit now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new era now. It's post like Astros cheating era.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's he looks sexy with the beard. We're big fans of the beard. So
you guys are pro beard.
Very
definitely.
We were actually talking before we came on that we think, obviously the Yankees have the no facial hair rule. We were saying the Red Sox should do the opposite and mandate that you have a beard.
Yeah,
that would be so interesting.
Yeah,
that would be really funny. Just to, like,
basically be just 2013 over again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's essentially what 2013 was. It was. Yeah. Except now we have a manager that does have a beard instead of John Farrell, who is like, strikes me as the most anti-beard person in the world. Yeah. Like, get up and shave with that straight edge razor.
Yeah.
Get to the barber shop, have him do it. Have him do it the right way. Exactly. That's just what he strikes me as.
That is so true, though. That's so funny. I never really thought about it like that, but I feel like I could definitely see that.
Oh, 100%. That's the type of guy he is. He's like a madman. He's like, he should be in Mad Men.
That's so funny. But yeah, no, I think you guys hit on a lot of what I was thinking as well with this rotation. I think the depth is the biggest thing. That's something that, they lacked last year and ultimately kind of ended up being their downfall when they did play the Astros in the playoffs. They just kind of ran out of, people that they could use and throw into certain situations. So I think it's really, really good that now, you kind of have quite a few options there. And I think that is what Heim was going for in that situation. I think he was just going for like more depth at in the rotation, because obviously, we don't know, like you guys said, like how Sale's going to be, because the guy can't stay healthy now, which is unfortunate. But if we can get a Chris Sale that like is like even partly back to what he was like pre-surgery, like then we're looking at like a pretty solid rotation here too, because obviously with Evaldi as number one, like everybody else, like I think Pavetta's due for like a good year this year too. And so I think like if we can get Chris Sale kind of continuing on like an upward trajectory, that's going to be really, really huge for this rotation, I think.
Yeah, and one thing we touched on the show, last show, was there's time for something like that. Like if you want to add a piece, you have time. You have almost 4 months to, find someone and then trade prospects for them. But I think your best bet is just to go into the season, see what you have, see who gives you what, and then, make moves according to what you're lacking. If it's depth, then you make a small move. If it's, someone front of the rotation, then you make a big move. So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. And I mean, yeah, he also obviously like Bloom made a couple other pitching moves as well. They were a little smaller signings. Nobody really, really talked about them. But they are going to be good additions, I think, to the bullpen, which was another huge thing that obviously presented a concern in 2021 was the bullpen, and he made a couple moves to address that. And obviously, yeah, like these guys aren't huge names, but they are definitely going to be factors in the bullpen this year.
Yeah, no, you can never, have too much pitching. I think, having a guy, especially like Diekman, is really going to help get a lot of those tough lefties out, especially, against the Blue Jays and against the Rays. So I think, there's some other guys down in Worcester that are also going to make a difference as well throughout the year. So hopefully, you can actually count on Matt Barnes, because it was a tale of, 2 seasons last year. So hopefully we get, the first half as well. And I think if we do, then we're going to be in really good position to, make a good run throughout the season.
Yeah, it was so odd. It was like pre-All-Star break, Matt Barnes, and then like post-All-Star break, Matt Barnes. And it was just two like completely different pitchers. And I was like, what happened? Like, geez, like what happened in the meantime here? But like, yeah, pre-All-Star break, Matt Barnes was fun. And then post-All-Star break, Matt Barnes was not. So like, it depends which version of him we're going to get this year too. That's going to be another big thing in all of this to consider.
Yeah, the whole contract that Matt Barnes has, during the duration of that whole contract, we're going to be playing Matt Barnes roulette. It's going to be which one are you going to get? And if you get the good one, then it's going to work out exceptionally well. If you get the bad one, then it could be it's going to handcuff their bullpen for years to come. So it's important for him to do well and get back on track, because it seems like I don't want to say he's fragile, but it seems like he has like a little bit of a confidence issue. Like when it goes bad, it seems like it really goes bad. So.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it too. When it goes bad, it's a complete disaster, and the guy just falls apart.
I'm just gonna blame the second half collapse last year on the high altitude from Colorado in the All-Star game. I think he just never fully recovered from it, and it just yeah.
Yeah, but now he has Trevor Story to tell him how to deal with it. So
exactly. See, you see, Heim's playing chess while everyone's playing checkers.
Everyone says that too. Last year, the whole season, that was kind of the theme with the Red Sox, and Heim Bloom he was playing chess and everyone else playing checkers. And I think the guy really, really knows what he's doing. And every time people start to doubt him a little bit, he does something like that.
Exactly.
He just did. You know what I mean? And people were like, why is this guy still here? Like, he doesn't want to spend money on anybody. Like, and then, like, obviously, like, then we get that notification on our phones that Trevor Story is going to be a Boston Red Sox. And everyone was like, oh, my God, this is so exciting. Like, he did something big. Like, he did something that I think people didn't think he was going to do. And that's the thing I really like about the guy, because he's never really, like, he doesn't make a lot of things public about the moves that he kind of wants to make. He just kind of does everything discreetly, and then all of a sudden he'll make a big move like that. So that's what I like about the guy. And I think he really is very much like in tune with, okay, we need to look out for our future, but with how well we played last season, like, we also want to be able to play well now, obviously, as well. You know what I mean? Because he knows they're not in full rebuild mode. Like, with how well they played last year, there's too much talent on the team to be in that mindset. But at the same time, like we talked about before, like, he wants to conserve the future, because those young talented players, when they all come up, like, the Red Sox have such a bright future too,
Yeah. And that was the frustrating thing watching this offseason unfold. When you saw names come off the board, it was like, well, does he realize that, that we are in win now mode? Like, I'm not trying to be selfish. I'm not trying to be so short-sighted, but it is important to maximize this winning window. And obviously the Trevor Story thing, that definitely proved that. But last year, there was definitely enough criticism, like with the trade deadline. And then, like you said, it's like right when everyone kind of starts doubting him, he does that thing. And Schwarber at first was like, well, this guy's hurt. He doesn't even play first base. So, I mean, I don't really know how much, this is really going to benefit the Red Sox. And then he ended up being, like Jack said, probably our favorite rental that we've ever had. So,
and even like when he does stuff like bring in people like Kike was such an underrated signing when he came in too. And I was like, nobody's talking about it, but I think this guy's actually going to be really good in Boston. And look at the season Kike had last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's moves like that I'm like, yeah, like, you have to trust the guy, because he saw something in players like that a lot of us didn't really see, that ended up being such huge factors to the team.
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. I was thinking the same thing. The Kike signing was huge. I mean, how big was he in the playoffs? He was massive. I mean, it's little things like that Heim Bloom's very good at, just knowing the right guys to have in this, that'll go in this culture and in this team. and he makes those small signings and they end up having big impacts, down the road.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, Bobby Dahlbeck is another one that I'm going to be intrigued by this year also, because obviously he had his struggles last year, but again, like he needed some time, young, everything just needed some time to start to develop. And then, he started to really, really turn it on in the later part of the season as well. And so we're going to need him to kind of continue to go up as well, because he can be so important this year and kind of has to be, you know what I mean? There's not really another choice right now. So it's going to be, I'm kind of excited to see how he continues to develop into this season.
Yeah, no, he's a little bit of an interesting one. He obviously, had his struggles throughout the 2020 season and then showed the 2021 season, and then showed a lot of signs of excellence. There's, a lot to be optimistic about. He hits the ball very hard in terms of StatCast data. He also runs very fast too. I think people kind of forget about that as well. So even if, a guy like Cassis is ready, he might be able to make the move to the outfield. They even tried him out at second base, which I don't think is going to really be too much of an issue, but for a minute it might have been. So what his role might be with the team might even be a little different than last year. But, right now he has the keys to the car.
Exactly. It's going to be a huge year for Dahlbeck. And, with no Schwarber here, first base will be, his to start the season. And, we'll see how he does. But he's doing pretty well so far in spring training. He's hitting the ball really well. So, there's some optimism there. But big year for him, for sure.
Yeah, there's some players when I'm like, this is really their chance to have a big year this year. And he's definitely on that list. I like I said before, I'd put Pivetta on that list. I think this is his chance to have a big season this year too. And I mean, Tanner Houck also, I think he had some things he had to work on, obviously, going into this season in terms of obviously longevity. But I think he has a chance to have a good season this year as well. So those are kind of the biggest names I'd say in terms of players who we can really look out for this year in terms of having a chance to really have a breakout season.
Yeah, this is definitely a make or break year for a lot of guys. And the team, although, you're going to have your core guys next year, but 2023 really could look a lot different. If you look at all the contracts coming off the books, things could change. So, this is your time to make your mark. Red Sox have a chance to, win the division, win a World Series. And like I said, this is their chance. Guys like Bobby Dahlbeck, this is make or break. Cassis is on your heels. You got a ton of other prospects that you can ship wherever to get a first baseman that's ready now. So he has to, put up now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, literally right now.
Literally right now.
That was so well said, because it is. There's no other choice but now. I think obviously looking at the roster right now, I feel a lot better than I did right when the lockout started. And I knew that would happen. Obviously, you have the overreactionary fans on Twitter that are like, I can't believe this is what the Red Sox roster looks like. And I'm like, everybody calm down. Eventually, the lockout's going to end and they'll be able to make some more moves. We don't know when that's going to be, but everyone just let's stay calm and just wait and see what Chaim Bloom does and how this all plays out. And then when the lockout ended, now people are like, oh, okay. Now I trust it more. I like the roster better now. And I'm like, yeah, because we knew that how the roster looked going into the lockout, I was like, there's no way it's going to look like this on opening day. Absolutely no way. And then obviously there was pressure put on them when you saw the Blue Jays were making moves. They scare me this year, by the way. Obviously the Yankees made that trade, and I just think it's really funny, the Twins dumping that Donaldson salary so that they could sign Correa. I think it's just legendary, because
that's awesome.
Especially when the Yankees are involved. I just think that's hilarious. I was like, this is just so legendary to me right now. So I think obviously the Yankees going into opening day, they don't scare me. I mean, there's not really a reason for them to scare me. I think the Red Sox are just as good, if not better, than the Yankees as of right now, this moment in time. I think obviously the Rays are still going to be there, but I am looking at Toronto right now as kind of the team that scares me the most in the AL East. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, talent-wise, it's definitely got to be Toronto. The Yankees won't be bad. They'll hang around. Right. And I mean, at the end of the day, it'll come down to if they can put it together on both sides of the ball, then they'll be competitive. I do think that they have a lot of holes. But you can't also forget about the Rays as well. So it's going to be a dogfight down to the end. And just like last year. Exactly. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto missed the playoffs by 1 game last year, and they're even better now. So.
Yeah. And now you have a 12-team playoff format. So if that was in place last year, you would have seen, the Blue Jays, you would have seen the Mariners. So I think that's one thing that, I'm just going to keep forgetting about throughout the years is the standings are just going to be different. And, you can play for a first round bye now, which is weird too. And then the Yankees also lost the very last American League wild card game as well. So
that's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, the Red Sox won it. So that's also a pretty cool thing. It's such a good point. I completely forgot about that. Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's a funny story about that. Our beautiful co-host here, Matt Lebeau, was actually on TV during that game on ESPN, getting the boys, getting the guys riled up.
Yeah, that was awesome. Profile picture.
It is my profile on Twitter.
Was it just one of those they just randomly showed you?
They just showed me and then a couple other people around me, and it caught it at the perfect time. I was chugging a Bud Light, so it was perfect. So now it is my Twitter profile picture. So when we hop off, check out the profile picture. You'll just see me chugging a Bud Light. That's it.
I have to take a look at that now because now I'm curious. That's hilarious. It's not like your proudest moment. You're like, yep, this was me.
So many people were texting me dude, I saw you on TV because everyone was watching that game. I mean, it was it was the most watched baseball game in ESPN history.
It's Red Sox Yankees too.
Yeah, you can't beat it. 1 game playoff, and there was no amount of money I wouldn't have spent to be at that game.
Yeah,
I wanted to go too, but again, it was expensive.
So I started watching the game with our boss, who is a Yankees fan, and he invited me out. Keep this in mind during the story. So, first inning, Giancarlo just misses that home run that that the Yankees radio announcer thought was a home run.
I kind of did at first, though, to be honest with you.
I did.
I did too.
Yeah. And then when Xander Bogaerts hits that home run in the first inning, of course I'm freaking out. And I grabbed him. And so he takes a chicken wing off his plate and just dabs it on my dress shirt. And everybody else around us is like, what are you doing? And he kind of immediately knew that was not okay to do. So he paid for my dry cleaning and he had to address it in the office the next morning. But everything's all good now, especially since the Red Sox won. If the Yankees won, I would have been a lot more mad.
Oh my God, yeah, I know, really though. That Yankees fans would have been unbearable too. I feel like if they won.
Yeah,
that's so funny. The other thing that's really weird to me is the ghost runner, that they implemented again. What do you guys think about that? I just think it's weird that they're calling it a ghost runner for one, because it's actually a real live person that's on the base. But so I think that's kind of strange. But just the concept in general, what do you guys think of it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the minority here. I actually like it because I think every other sport in professional, North American sports has somewhat of a different overtime rule. And I'm okay with it for baseball. Sometimes it is a little bit hard to watch an 18-inning game on a Tuesday night, especially if they're on the West Coast. So you end up just missing most of it there. So it definitely is not perfect. I might start it after the 10th or 11th inning. But definitely, I think it's good to, mix it up a little bit at least.
In terms of baseball rules, I am an old man, get off my lawn. You kids, what's wrong with you kids? I don't like it, but I can see why, I think it makes sense for the game, both sides, the ownership, the owners and the players. And I can see why they would agree on it. For me, I just like keeping the game as pure as possible. I'm all about growing the game, minor changes, but to me, that's not really a minor change. That's a big change to me. We saw it with Brooks Krisk, the Yankees pitcher, how the Red Sox won a game without getting a base hit. And to me, I think that's where the flaw comes in. It's that's an incredibly important game, and the Red Sox won it without getting a base hit. So I don't know if that's totally fair, but.
Yeah, no, I do like tradition as well. I have to agree with Lebeau. I like it just in all sports. I just like the purity of the game, just the way it was meant to be played. And I think I would agree the same thing with baseball as well. I don't know. I that's kind of how I am as well. I like the purity of the game and just the way it was kind of always played throughout the years. So
yeah, I really kind of thought that they wouldn't bring it back based on all the other like changes that they were making, like this offseason, that they were kind of going back to more normalcy, like in other areas, other aspects of the game. I really thought that was going to change too, and that they weren't going to bring that back, to be honest.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of those things as well where they were just going to like bag it. And
Yeah,
like,
I thought it was going to get scrapped. Honestly, I thought it was going to get scrapped. Totally.
I did too.
It is what it is. I mean, it's not a big enough deal for me to be like pissed about it. I'm not going to
yeah.
go on a Facebook tirade like a boomer and be like, baseball needs to be the same. You kids are ruining it. Like, I'm not that mad about it, but like I just would rather have it, the original way. That's all.
One rule I'm glad they didn't bring back was the 7-inning doubleheaders.
Yeah, me too.
It made sense for 2020 and even 2021 with players missing time and yada yada yada. But it sounds good in theory. But like I went to one of those 7-inning games. Like Tanner Houck versus Lance Lynn, it was 2-1. The game ended in like less than 2 hours. I was in and out of Fenway before I knew it. So like you don't really get that full experience of a game with it.
It's
so
way too quick.
Yeah, exactly. I almost was confused. I was like, oh, it's the 6th inning. This is like the 8th inning right now.
Yeah. You're like, wait, this is so weird. Like,
yeah.
It's probably good for people like us though. That way we don't spend $200 on $13 beers. So I think maybe for our wallets and our liver, I think the 7-inning game might be a better option. Honestly,
that's the next rule they should implement: lower beer prices at the stadium.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
I would love that. That'd be great. Well, we kind of talked about it as well too, and it's like every time you go into Fenway or like really any sporting event, you just feel like you have like all the money in the world that you could just like swipe your card and it's like, yep, I'll take like 18 Bud Lights. Yep.
And
you look at your state. I'll take like 18 Bud Lights, like 13 sausage and onions and like whatever. And it's just like you get the statement at the end and you're just like, holy crap, I spent a lot of money.
Yeah, money does not exist when you're inside the walls of Fenway.
Exactly.
It's completely fake. It's completely fake.
It's just not a thing. It just
doesn't exist.
That is so true, though. But yeah, no, I'm really excited for the season to start. I think it's awesome that the first series of the season now is against the Yankees. I think that's great, especially with how long we had to wait last year for Red Sox Yankees games. I think it's just great that it ended up working out that way. I think it's going to be a really good season. I think, like one of you said it before, I think the Red Sox are right in the mix again now with the division. I think we all talked about it's going to probably be a 4-team race again until the end of the season. And then there's the Orioles, as always, just chilling at the bottom. But yeah, I think it's going to be a super fun season. I think everyone's super hyped now that, obviously just having the season back in general, after all of this that went down. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm pretty confident in the Red Sox this year. I think it's going to be fun. And I think the additions that they made are going to prove to be really, really good for them.
Yeah, and we're glad that we got an opportunity to showcase our opinions a little bit on this stage, and hopefully that you can have us back on sometime later on in the year. Maybe you could do a little recap after what we talked about here, maybe a little mid-season round out, and then kind of go from there.
Exactly. Hey, I definitely would be down for that. You guys are definitely always welcome to hop on my show. So, yeah. But before we close out, just let everybody know like where they can find your show, how they can follow you guys and everything like that fun stuff.
Yeah, so we're pretty much NSAP podcast on everything. Twitter's kind of a big one that we're always on.
NASP. Jack had a dyslexic moment. NASP.
Oh, NASP. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
That's podcast. NAS podcast. Yep. I'm flustered now.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We still love you, Jack.
Yeah. We broadcast on Spotify and we broadcast on iTunes as well and YouTube, but nobody really watches us there, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see these faces, let me tell you.
Definitely check us out on also notanothersocks.com. That is the website I made today. I'm very proud of it. There is blogs. There's blogs on there, so we're going to start writing a little bit. We're going to have some merch up there eventually. We got a photo gallery where basically if you take a picture of us with a beer, we're going to put you on the website. So we got some cool things. Just really excited to actually have a season. That's the most important element because there's no show with no season. So.
Yeah. Well, all the three of us will actually be at the Red Sox opening day at Fenway on the 15th. So it'll be nice to
Really?
Yeah.
Try to go to that then.
I know. We'll have to meet up for sure.
I'll let you guys know if I end up going.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
merch is cool. I mean, as you can see, I have this big banner behind me.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
also
awesome.
like shirts and stuff like that too. So that stuff is all fun.
You'll be on the list for sure.
Yeah, I hope so. I really, really hope so. I hope I earned that right after having you guys on the show.
You did.
I want to get like one of those T-shirt launchers to like bring it to Fenway and just start like shooting T-shirts into
that's
the
such
crowd,
a good
you know?
idea.
Yeah.
Wait, why have I never thought of that before? Oh my gosh, that's such a good idea.
I don't think you can get that past security. But,
Sorry.
Maybe if I toss them a T-shirt, they'll let me in.
If I can't get a fireball nip past security, they're not letting me with a T-shirt launcher.
Right.
They got the snipers on the roof now and everything. If you pull out a T-shirt gun, you are public enemy number one in that.
That'd be funny. Yeah, watch out for this guy. But I appreciate it, guys. I really, really do. And as always, everyone, I appreciate you tuning into the show. It's always a good time, and always appreciate everyone's support. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Opening day is fast approaching, so super excited for that. But I hope everyone has a great rest of your night, and I will catch you all next time.
Absolutely.
Peace.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.